So let's get right into it. You guys are creating a play around Hastings Street, which has a lot to do with the highways that were built during urban renewal and the neighborhoods like Black Bottom that were destroyed in the process. So, Gary, we'll start with you. Was this something that was in the works already before, the world kind of got put on pause and also exploded at the same time, or was this something that was sparked by everything that's going on?
Well, actually, we had applied to the Kresge Foundation for the seed money necessary to commission both Chris and John for this project roughly around the spring of last year. We got awarded the funds in August, and we began working on it after that. But yeah, so this has been in the works for almost a year now.
John, what was your initial thought when you started taking on this project?
Well, there were so many. I've known Gary for years, and when we started talking about this project, he asked me to come on board, and I wrote the book, and then Chris and I collaborated on the music and lyrics. I really wanted to make sure we got it right. And as somebody that is from this community, moved away, I lived in New York for a while, I was on tour for a while. I moved back home in 2017. And I really felt like there were a lot of parallels, and I still feel like there are a lot of parallels between what was happening in Detroit in the late 40s, early 50s, and what's happening in our community right now. And the way that we're dealing with this struggle at the nexus of gentrification and redevelopment. And when you're really thinking about building out, like I personally hate the idea of a new Detroit. Because Detroiters have been here, and my family's been here. We've all been here and been working and been trying to deal with having a lack of access to opportunity and having a lack of access to education and redevelopment, and still being one of the foundational communities in the world. Especially when you think about what we've contributed to the history of arts and of arts activism. And so it was really, I wanted to make sure, writing the book and helping to create these characters, that we stayed true to our community and really helped to tell a story that was both unique to Detroit, but it had themes that were archetypal and universal.
Right. So, Chris, what was your first thought when you were approached to do this project? What was the first thing that came to mind for you?
Yeah, it was really interesting is that Gary and I actually worked together on my first musical, Jim Crow's Tears. Gary wrote the book for it, and I wrote the lyrics and the music. And after I completed that project, I was kind of thinking, if I ever did another musical, if I ever, ventured into that world again, what would it be about? And I started researching more, and this is, almost a decade ago, started researching Black Bottom and got really kind of fascinated by the history of Black Bottom. So when this came up, it was just incredibly exciting to be able to actually put to use some of that research and some of that history in Detroit. And I think it's just a very, very, very timely piece. And kind of mirroring what John was saying, I think we're seeing a lot of the same themes that are starting to take place now in Detroit, and this whole idea of this like push and pull with the white and Black community. So I think it's just a really important reflection on what was, so that people understand that, Detroit's been here and will continue to be.
So we understand that this story is based on history. This play is coming out of things that actually happened. But John, tell me a little bit about what the actual story is. How are we going to be taken through that history and experience it?
Sure. So one thing that the three of us talked about from the beginning is making sure that we were creating a piece and creating a story that, while it was true to life, was not re-traumatizing. There's a diversity of Black experiences, and we didn't want to see them get reduced down to archetypes, right? And so what you're going to do is, people that come see Hastings Street are going to follow the story of the Carson family. And it's one family who is established in the Black Bottom and Paradise Valley community. They have their own general store, and they want to try to see their business stay and grow and maintain. But all these things and all these forces are changing around them. In the middle of all that, the son of the family, Robert Jr., Bobby, comes home from World War II as a Tuskegee Airman, and is dealing with all the things that war vets have to deal with. That struggle of PTSD in a time before it was called PTSD and really recognized. And so we try to use his struggle and the family's struggle to mirror the parallel conversations that were happening in the city. around what it means to take on responsibility, around what it means to come home in a world that's changing, an environment that's changing around you. And then also balanced with just the joy and the energy that was the jazz and blues that came out of the 40s and 50s, and using that from an oral sense to create a tapestry and world build really around what the city is and around what the family has to work through and try to overcome together.